Hey, you're looking good today. This is Frank in the Brazil Times newsroom, and here's what's going on. The Clay County Republican Club met last night at Kennedy's Crossing, and their special guest was Dr. Larry Bachand, who is our congressman, of course. And if you pay any attention to what's going on in Washington at all, you know it's been a rather tumultuous time since the inauguration with health care reform and other things going on, including the budget. So it was very interesting to hear what Dr. Bachand had to say last night. And one of the things that we hear periodically is that the media doesn't give elected officials the opportunity to speak directly to the public. And it's almost like we have some kind of blinders on, they say, and we just see what we want to see. So what we have done with Dr. Bachand's approval is that we recorded the presentation he made last night, including the question and answer period. The audio is pretty good, and I think you'll find it very interesting. And you can find the link to that recording. It lasted over an hour on YouTube. We'll have it up on our website very shortly. It is on the Brazil Times Facebook page as well as on my Facebook page as well. Hey, Karen, we're glad to see you this morning. And we'll also have a story from the presentation last night later today on the Brazil Times website. We'll have that link on Facebook and Twitter as well. But to kind of summarize the meeting last night, Dr. Bachand said it's a 180-degree difference since January 19th, thank God. That's a quote. Of course, he was referring to President Trump's inauguration on January 19th. He said, I don't feel like I'm hitting my head against the wall quite as much. And he did use the word frustration at different times during the meeting last night, and expressed frustration with trying to get legislation through Congress. He pointed out that when the House passes a measure, that does not mean that the Senate is going to pass the measure. And so he said that whenever the House passes a measure, it's important that it be able to get through the Senate as well. So let me see here. He was also talking about President Trump, as I said. He said, look at the people he has appointed to his cabinet, and he said they're getting the regulatory agencies back between the rails where they belong. He also took a swipe at the media and reporters. He said the Trump administration is different than what you see on TV, and it's actually getting off to a pretty good start, Congressman Bucshon said. And by the way, he said that he supported Trump all along because he said Trump is our nominee, and I always support our nominees, the Republicans said. He said Congress is getting off to a slower start than President Trump is, especially he talked about health care. And he says, I was with the president on health care. And of course, Dr. Bachand is part of the Health Care Caucus, I believe it's called, in Washington, in Congress and in the House. And so he said that for several years he's been working on health care reform. And it's very frustrating for him because it's not going as fast as he would like. But he says he does think there'll be some things done. Let me see here. He said, I'm disappointed that we didn't get the health care law. That would have given Americans access to low-cost health care. And let's see. He talked about Dr. Tom Price of Georgia, one of his fellow members of the House. And, of course, Dr. Price has been tapped by the President to become the Secretary of Health and Human Services. And Dr. Bachand said, thank God that we have Dr. Price in that position. And by the way, just as a point of interest, there's going to be a special election today to replace Dr. Price in Congress. And, of course, that's taking place in his district in Georgia. Dr. Bachand went into quite a bit of detail explaining how insurance rates are skewed particularly under Obamacare. And I'm not going to get into that. As I say, you can listen to Dr. Bucshon's words on that subject on the recording that we made last night. He said one of the issues that he's working on, and it's a big issue for him, is transparency of drug prices. That's a big issue for me, Bucshon said. And he said it's not a threat, but he said, I really think that if the drug companies cannot get drug prices down by themselves, then something will happen in Congress and they won't like it. So that was just what Dr. Bucshon said that he sees coming down the pike unless drug prices are brought into line with what is reasonable and affordable for people. He was asked about Obamacare. He said that going into this session of Congress, the idea was to repeal Obamacare. But it's going to be necessary to modify it in order to get something that will go through the Senate as well as the House. He was asked about lack of leadership in Congress. One of the people that was there, maybe more than one, suggested that there is a lack of leadership in Congress. And he said that's not true. He said that is a myth that's created by Sean Hannity. Of course, Sean Hannity is a radio conservative talk show host. He said House Republicans had meetings all last year on health care. And it was with the idea, what if we win the election? And so one of the people at the meeting came back with a question. They said, well, Nancy Pelosi got the Democrats to support Obamacare. Why can't the Republicans get behind President Trump and do what he wants to do, since the Republicans are now in control in Washington in both chambers of Congress and in the president's in the presidency as well. Let's see here. He defended House Speaker Paul Ryan. He said that the House Speaker did the right thing by supporting the nominee behind the scenes but not out in public, and that was to protect Republicans who were from Democratic-leaning districts who might lose their elections if Ryan came out and supported Trump too strongly. Let me see. The only way to get a handle is to get the health care costs down. One thing we can't do is fix prices, he said. The only way is to make all the information easily accessible. He said you can go online and you can find out what all these drugs are costing and about all of the rebates and so forth. But he said it's not easy to find, and he said that's the only way that we're going to be able to get prices down for drugs, is to make the information easily accessible. And finally, Dr. Bucshon was asked about term limits. Someone asked him outright, how long do you plan to serve in Congress? And Dr. Bucshon responded, I've said this is not going to be a career for me. He said, we'll see what happens this year. He says, I don't know. I'm in my 4th term. So that was kind of a summation of what Dr. Bucshon had to say last night at the Republican Club. And you can see that online on YouTube. And as I say, you can find a link to it on our Facebook page. Now, tonight, it's the Clay County Democrats' turn. They're going to be meeting at 6 o'clock. It's going to be a dinner meeting, followed by 2 guest speakers at the Kennedy's Crossing. And Gail Wiley-Camonte, or Gail Camonte as she prefers to be called, who is the executive director of the Villas of Hollybrook and Reflections Memory Care, is going to be discussing their state-of-the-art facility that was recently opened in the community. And let's see, then the second speaker is going to be Dale S. Bremer, a professor of economics at the Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, where he's taught for 29 years. His topic is going to be health insurance as well, and health care. That just keeps coming up. And so the Democrats are going to be sponsoring his presentation tonight at 6 o'clock. That is open to the public, and it is a dinner meeting if you'd like to stop by there. So that's what's going on as far as healthcare goes and national issues. I want to say hi to some folks. Barbara Drake is here. I saw Terry Barr's name go by. Let me see. Stephanie Dale has joined us too, so we're glad to see all you folks. In other news, one of the 500 festival princesses stopped by one of our local assisted living centers yesterday, Mana Mace of Brazil. She was at Town Park yesterday. She called bingo for them, and it was kind of a special time for her because not only was she helping out those residents as part of her obligation as a 500 festival princess, but her grandfather, John Mace, is a resident at Town Park, and you may remember John Mace. He was our subject in our senior magazine last year, and he had quite a story to tell that we were glad to pass on to you. But anyway, we have a picture of Mana and her grandpa in the website today at the top of the page. Also coming up, you can turn in your unused or expired prescription medication for safe disposal from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. April 29th at St. Vincent Clay Hospital. They're going to have a tent area set up for that to the east of the front parking lot on US 40 in Brazil. And this collection program is sponsored by the City of Brazil, the Brazil Police Department, and St. Vincent Clay Hospital, in association with the U.S. DEA, which stands for Drug Enforcement Administration. Also on our website today, the Brazil Rotary Healthy Kids Fun Run program for kids ages 5 through 12 is coming up. The program will last 4 weeks. There will be 8 practice sessions starting at the Forest Park Pavilion on Mondays and Thursdays beginning April 24th and concluding on May 18th. And these sessions will last about 30 minutes each and teach young kids the importance of physical exercise, as well as special speakers there to give them some good information. On our website, we also have a copy of the participation parent waiver form that has to be filled out and turned in for each child who plans to participate in the Brazil Fun Run. And we appreciate Chris Rogers for organizing that. He does a great job every year, and he has lots of help from Susan Thomas and from other folks in the Brazil Rotary Club, but it's a great program that's sponsored by the Rotary, and I'm proud of that. I don't have much to do with that program, but I'm very proud that the Brazil Rotary Club is doing it. Also, we have a correction for you today. The YMCA Healthy Kids Day is at Forest Park. It's going to be at Forest Park in Brazil. So you might make that change in your plans. Not where we said it was earlier, but it's going to be in Forest Park. And in honor of National Child Abuse Prevention Month, Clay County CASA is issuing a call to action for its residents to stand against child abuse and take action to support children who have been abused or neglected. So that's what's going on this month, and you can read more about how you can take action in association with the Clay County Court-Appointed Special Advocates Program. Let's see, I want to tell you a little bit more about the Healthy Kids Day. That is coming up. Excuse me. And we have that information for it. Here it is. I knew we had it. It's going to be 10:30 a.m. at the Forest Park track. And there will also be a health fair at the Forest Park from 10 a.m. to noon. And that is going to take place Saturday, this coming Saturday. So be aware of that. A lot more for you on our website. And this is the Brazil Times. We're glad to see you, and we hope that you'll pick up a copy of the next edition of the Brazil Times. Pick up yesterday's edition. In the meantime, watch our website for the latest information on news and weather. To find our weather, just go under menu and drop down. I think it's the last option there, and you can look at the latest weather forecast and also radar for our area. Hey, we want to say hi to Teresa Stewart is here. And we're glad to see her today. I don't have my glasses on. I can't see those little bitty letters. I'm Frank in the Brazil Times newsroom. You have an outstanding day, and we'll see you later.